So I was just having a conversation with my friend Frog King on Twitter earlier today about Tower of God. Tower of God. I believe that's the correct name. He had watched the show during the seasonal anime impressions podcast that he did over on his show, We Hate Anime podcast. He's 1/3 of this great dynamic trio who just talk cringe and anime, and it's really entertaining. I listen to it whenever it comes out. Highly recommend checking them out. But Frog King was talking about he wanted to have some genuine insight on why people like Tower of God, because he does not like the show. And I had never seen it up until that point, but he just wanted to talk about it with somebody. So I went and watched the first episode, and it's not very good. This show, first of all, never really appealed to me just based off on the art design. I know that this is an aesthetic choice, but it doesn't do it for me. As far as the writing goes, it is not very good. See, the way that I think this show holds value is if it were to be shown to people who are taking writing classes on what not to do when trying to tell a story. Because as far as this first episode goes, this is just 24 minutes of occurrences, and occurrences. Just all happening together. It's kind of like watching a dream unfold, because things just happen without any setup and payoff. Everything just kind of just occurs without any real meaning. Sometimes when you're thinking back on a dream, you realize that one moment you're in a park, and then the next moment you're at an amusement park or something, or this person who wasn't there moments before is now here without any semblance of how they got here, why they're there. It's kind of like I said, it's a dream. It doesn't need to make sense. Things just happen really fast without any logical sense, and this show feels that way. And what I mean by this is how earlier I mentioned how the show has no setups or payoffs. It's just moments of occurrences. I just wrote a script on Back to the Future. I'm gonna get to it as quickly as I can. Talking about how I think that movie is so tightly put together, as from a narrative sense. Things happen in the movie, because they were set up earlier, and it's basic writing when telling a story. If there's a painting on the wall, it has to be there for a reason, otherwise why is it there? So I kind of feel like the mention of the painting on the wall in the video wasn't explained at all. And to kind of explain myself and explain why if there's a painting on the wall, it has to play some type of importance. It just basically means that if you take at all a moment to introduce something such as a detail in the background, it has to place some type of importance. And to kind of show you what I mean, I have here an episode of Heneko where it's like during a typhoon, and the blonde girl here, she's going to ask if she can use the telephone, and we find out that the reason this detail is added into the story is because the phone lines are disconnected. So watch. 始業式出られなかったってママに知らせないと。もちろんです。使ってください。ありがとう。ねえ、ちょっと。電話通じないんだけど。To kind of give you guys a little sample of what I'm talking about in the Back to the Future video, how Marty gets sent to the past is set up right from the start of the movie. At the start of the movie, there is a news report denying claims that plutonium was stolen from their lab. There is a Libyan group that claims to have been responsible for it. And then Marty walks into Doc's house, and his skateboard rolls to a case of plutonium sitting underneath his bed. Then later on, when Doc and Marty meet in the middle of the night, Doc is showing how the time machine works. He pulls out the plutonium. Marty asks, where did you get the plutonium from? Well, he got it from some Libyans that he conned, who were the ones that stole it from the lab, or something like that. But the point is that the plutonium is shown right from the beginning of the film. It's mentioned, and then it's shown in Doc's house, and even other little details. When you go to the past, you find out that
that Doc lives in a mansion. Well, there's little newspaper clippings in the beginning of the movie that show that Doc is actually a disgraced scientist and that his house was blown up, and that's why you see him living in that little shitty shack in the beginning of the movie. And then during the final moments of the film where you see Marty playing the guitar, it's a big scene in the movie, but it's set up earlier in the movie where he's auditioning to perform at the school dance or something. But at least when we get to that point in 1955, we already know that Marty can play guitar. And then even just little micro things such as how Marty actually started playing the guitar. Marty was locked into the trunk of the vehicle that the band was performing in. The guitarist of the band actually slices his hand trying to get Marty out. So when Marty returns and says, hey, you guys got to continue playing, he's like, no, well, we can't. I cut my hand. I can't play guitar. Do you know anybody who knows how to play guitar? And then Marty's like, playing guitar at the end of the movie. So that's kind of what I mean. There's like setups. Everything just builds off of each other. It's basic storytelling. See, Tower of God doesn't have any of this. It's all just a bunch of occurrences happening. In the beginning of the episode, there's an explanation of what the tower is and why people would want to go for it. And that's supposed to be the world establishing dialogue or exposition of the show. But after the opening, we cut to the main character and the girl that he's into, you know, in a chase scene. She's running and he catches her, knocks her to the ground, and she says, I'm going to climb the tower. And she disappears. Next thing we see is the boy talking to some rabbit man about how he's going to climb the tower now and how he has to take a test. Well, why does the boy have to take the test? He says that he wants to see the girl, but why is the girl important? We don't really know this. And as far as background setup, somewhere in the middle of the episode, we find out that we see him climbing some type of rocks where he's emerging from the surface where the girl is. And I think that it might have been an homage to Gurren Lagann. But is it really? Because there's no context. All we see is just a blank background and some rocks, and he's climbing up of it, and now he's talking to the girl. The girl wants to climb the tower because she wants to see stars. So where are they where they don't see stars? I don't know these things. Okay, so the rabbit man tells him, you need to take the test. He's about to take the test. Also, he's a very passive character. People tell him to do these things and he just does it. His reasoning is because he wants to see the girl. But he's about to start taking the test, or he's approaching it, and out of nowhere, this girl comes and stomps him on the face. Who this girl is? Apparently, she belongs to some estate or something, but there's like no context to why she's there. Why is she at the bottom level where the main character is? What was her reason for her coming into the scene in the first place? And then after that, he starts to take the test. Apparently, it's too hard for him because nobody else can defeat this monster that he's about to face, but he can because he's an irregular, whatever that means. But after that, he ends up doing the right thing to that he isn't killed by the monster. But of course, this isn't enough. The girl's friend tells him to ask the sword for help. And so it does. And they try to explain this by the girl saying, well, I've asked for help and it's never done it. Is it because I'm a female? And then the sword says, yes, it's because you're a female. like it's a joke that's trying to be explanatory at the same time, but it doesn't really work. At least I don't feel like it really works. And then the boy is knocked out. He is saved from the test or whatever. I guess he passes it. And I think it's the sword that tells him that he has a long, strange trip ahead of him. Next thing we know, he's on the second floor. And everybody just starts to kill each other because this voice said that there needs to be only 200 people remaining or something. And we get introduced to another character that we see in the OP, and we see a bunch of like monster designs, and it's kind of whatever, the episode ends. But see, all of this is just things that are happening, as I previously keep mentioning. I don't know anything about this world. Is the tower the world itself? Are we still on Earth? Is this some country in the East? Is this some country in the West? What are the normal people who don't try to climb the tower are like. What are civilians like? We don't know any of these things. And if it gets explained later on, I mean, as far as the first episode goes, it fails because it's not establishing the world. And that beginning introduction scene doesn't count because it's just telling you what it is. It's not showing you what it is. And as a golden rule in writing is, show, don't tell. I don't really know what else to say on Tower of God. But as far as this first episode goes, it hasn't done enough to tell me that this is going to be an intriguing story. That this is something that's worth watching. And that's why I think that Tower of God is not very good. So if you like this video, let me know. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you guys to know when I upload, because I upload very infrequently. Sometimes I just have video ideas and I come and just sit down in front of the computer and record them. But have you seen the show? Do you like it? Why do you like it? Because my friend Frog wants to know why people genuinely like the show, and if you have a case for it, I'd love to hear it so that I can point it in his direction, because he's the one that really wants to interact with the fan base of this show. So that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, ciao.